YouTube, how's it going? The GOAT House is back, and NFL free agency is starting on Monday, just a few days away. We have a bunch of predictions, landing spots on the channel. Plenty more to come, grading every single free agency signing and every big trade that happens. We got more player predictions, free agent predictions on the way this weekend. But in this video, I'm going through every team and, in my opinion, giving you their biggest need, and I also give them 3 options on how they can fit that, whether it's free agency or the NFL draft. So this is both a free agency and draft video in a way. So yeah, 3 fit options for each team, not necessarily predictions, but definitely possibilities in terms of landing spots. Definitely realize some of these teams that have actually a lot more needs than I originally thought, doing a video like this. So I thought this was pretty interesting. Please subscribe for that. All that NFL content. Follow our Twitter for breaking news and breakdowns and every move that happens. Check out walktomock.com underneath me, and there's a link in the comments for that and everything else you need. Use code GOATHOUSE if you do sign up for that. Here's our Twitter, @GOATHouseNFL, just constant news, constant talk about everything. But let's go through these teams. I have cornerback is the biggest need for the Cardinals. I mean, they could use offensive line in terms of interior or right tackle unless somebody's going to step up there. They could use another receiver that gets separation. So they have some needs. Defensive line as well. There's pretty set at the edge rush position, but the interior defensive line. But went with corner because pretty much they got Byron Murphy who can play in the slot. I think they'll target a guy like William Jackson in free agency. They're clearing the space, even after signing J.J. Watt. They clear some extra space. They have that space. So I think they'll target a big-time cornerback free agent here, William Jackson. I suppose Richard Sherman is a possibility, him with the injury concern, aging as well. I would prefer William Jackson as option A. I think J.C. Horn's a possibility in the draft. Maybe that's option B. And a guy like Troy Hill they can like as well. It could be another option there for them, maybe less expensive. So see how the Cardinals attack their biggest need, whether it's free agency or the draft. Always could trade up in the draft and get somebody, like SURTAIN or Furley. I wouldn't recommend that, trading away picks to get somebody pretty much in the same range as Horn. I wouldn't really recommend that. We'll see what happens, though. The Falcons' biggest need is safety. They need another pass rusher. Opposite of Fowler, they need a guard. They may need quarterback in the future. Running back is actually a giant need, but safety, they got nothing in there right now pretty much. They need 2 starting safeties, so I went with that. John Johnson would be the ideal fit coming from the Rams. Anthony Harris, pretty good fit, the Vikings safety. He had a better year in 2019 versus 2020. If they go to the draft, I would like Central Florida safety Richie Grant, who can play both free and strong. That could be ideal for them. They got to clear some more space, but to get a guy like John Johnson, I suppose, but they could clear that with some restructures. So, I'm sure that news will come out anytime now, and maybe they target a guy like that. We will see, but I got safety as their biggest need. Next up, the Ravens. Obviously, you could go receiver. If they trade Orlando Brown, which they will, they need a right tackle. They need somebody on the interior. They need edge rush. So you start to realize a damn good team of the Ravens. They got some needs right now, but luckily free agency in the draft hasn't happened yet. So they're going to have to fill those needs, but more needs than you once thought for a really good contending team. Kenny GOLLADAY would be fantastic for them. It sounds like they won't spend like top-tier receiver money. We'll see, though. We'll see if that ends up being true, but that would be like kind of option A. I put Elijah Moore as option B. I like Elijah Moore. I think they can really benefit from adding a top-tier slot receiver, kind of taking over that Willie Snead role that, just a better playmaker, and he's, you can scheme things up for him, just such good footwork, very good after the catch. I would really like Elijah Moore for them. You could throw a guy like Rashad Bateman who can play inside and out. I don't think he's there for the Ravens in the draft. Again, a trade-up is possible. And then Corey Davis, I like to fit as well. And you may say Corey Davis below Elijah Moore. Yes, Corey Davis is more polished. He's better right now. He's off a 1K season plus. But where he's going to cost, I'm a little worried about what Corey Davis is going to cost. Maybe a guy that gets overpriced. I'd rather go the much, much, much cheaper route for maybe a little better fit there in Elijah Moore. So that's why those are ordered the way they are. So see what the Ravens do there, whether it's free agency, draft, both. We will see. Next, the Bills. It's a tough one. Another one. The Bills are a contending team, but they could use tight end. They can use right tackle. Darrell Williams free agent. They can use an interior guy. They can use an edge rush. I was about to put edge rush here. They could use another corner. Matt Milano's free agent. They could use a linebacker. So you start to see a damn good team like the Bills. They actually They got some needs. Again, I wanted to go edge rush because I'm kind of fed up with them just having these average edge rushers and they get pressure, but they just consistently don't actually get to the quarterback, actually bring them down when they need to. So that was a big one for me. Maybe they'll target, guys within free agency, Romeo Okwara, Trey Hendrickson, like those guys for them. But the name of the game for them is offense. They got to be as an explosive offense as they can be. That is how they're going to get to the promised land. So getting a dangerous tight end, and you can use Dawson Knox as well, but this is a category where you can't be afraid to get better. You get a lot better. Hunter Henry, yeah, he's better than JONNU Smith. I just love the JONNU Smith fit for the Bills. You'll also be cheaper, so that's why. And JONNU Smith has a lot of upside. As Hunter Henry, maybe a little bit of upside. So that is why JONNU Smith is A for me. That could be a guy they target. Hunter Henry would be fantastic as well. And then maybe that little lower option, Gerald Everett, pair with Dawson Knox there. But they could really benefit from adding one of those top tier tight ends here in free agency. So we'll see what they'll do. They're clearing space. That is the good news there. They're up to like $20 million right now, so that's fantastic. Panthers quarterback. I threw Deshaun Watson in here. I'm not saying it's very likely. I'm not predicting it to happen with this, but they're in the mix. If the Texans do decide to trade Deshaun Watson eventually, even though they're pretty firm that they're not at the moment, the Panthers are definitely in the mix, and they have a lot to offer. They definitely can beat out some other teams. I think a team like the Jets could beat them out. I don't think the Dolphins would be involved, it sounds like. I'm getting notifications like crazy, so I got to keep checking them. Make sure no news broke, but okay, we're moving on. Justin Fields, I think, is a solid option for them. Very realistic. It's option B. And then Teddy Bridgewater is definitely a possibility for them. They've gotten calls on trades for Teddy Bridgewater, and they have not, been really getting involved, further into those talks because they realize they may need him. He might be their option. So that is definitely on there for their option at quarterback. We'll see. Definitely something interesting to monitor there. We'll see. But they do have needs at offensive line, left tackle, guard. They got to try to bring Curtis Samuel back. They may need a tight end if they want to value that position more. They need another pass rusher opposite of Brian Burns. They could use a cornerback, safety. So that's a team with some needs. Some teams with some needs there. The Bears, quarterback. Didn't put Watson here because I don't think it's realistic. They just don't have enough to offer on top of the Texans not wanting to trade him. Mac Jones, I think they would have to trade up for Mac Jones, but if there was a guy that was going to slip through maybe a little bit, one of the quarterback prospects, I think it would be Mac Jones. Would love to fit in that Nagy scheme. It also would be too good to pass at that point, but they could have to trade up. I like Jameis Winston for them. I think he needs to go to a spot with a very good defense. At the end of the day, the Bears just go with streaks of every season with just not getting first downs, not getting points. Winston's going to get that production. He'll turn the ball over, but you'll finally get that consistent production downfield, the yards, the points. So that's why it makes sense. And I really don't know if Alex Smith is really a top 3 option in my mind for the Bears, but it sounds very realistic. So I'd put that as option C here. Is familiar with the Nagy system, I suppose, playing under him in the past. So that it's very realistic, but it's not the top option, obviously. Next, the Bengals. This could be tackle, could be guard, could be both. I think tackle is a little more important because Joe Burrow right now is he's pretty good at rolling out, throwing the run, making plays out there. We saw that at LSU, but he can't really do that. Well, he's getting instant interior pressure because the guards, and that's forcing him out earlier than expected, but then he can't even go to work what he does out there because the tackles don't have guys blocked. So I think that's more important because if the interior pressure is still there, he can make plays with his feet and using his arm, on the move. So you got to be able to solidify that. I think it's more likely a draft target in terms of guards. They'll try to go big for a guy like Joe TONEY, perhaps other guys like that in free agency. But tackle's bigger in my opinion, and I think they'll target some of these guys in the draft. Penei Sewell, Rashawn Slater. It's kind of 1A and 1B. At the top there, I like Sewell a little better for them. And then Darrell Williams, I think, would be a good fit there at right tackle for them in free agency. One of the better free agent tackles. So we'll see what they do. They could use 2 of them really, depending on what they want to do with Jonah Williams. Next, the Browns. Go linebacker here. You could go a number of things on the defense. Went linebacker, and these are all like kind of, they have the cap space to spend, so they're all kind of option A's here. Matt Milano being a very productive linebacker from the Bills. Kyle Van Noy, I think, would be a good fit. Also can provide, a little more pressure on the quarterback from off-the-ball linebacker. And Jayon Brown, which, they all feel like option A's because Milano's kind of more the sound linebacker, sure tackler. Very instinctive. Van Noy is going to provide that extra pass rush than the other guys aren't. But then Jayon Brown is more of the athletic, rangy guy, which the Browns are kind of missing. So I'm equally fine with any of these for the Browns. Even though it's option C, I kind of like Jayon Brown because it'll be a little cheaper at the same time. But they're all great. So the Browns got some good options here to fill that need. They have the cap space as well. Cowboys cornerback. I like Patrick Surtain for them. Pair him with Diggs. That could be ideal. Caleb Farley right there with Surtain, another option. Guy that can target free agency, maybe a guy like Shaq Griffin from the Seattle Seahawks. That's a possibility. Back-to-back teams that need corners. I would prefer, the Broncos go for a guy like William Jackson. They'll have the cap space, and you can use that top 10 pick on something maybe a little more valuable there. So I would like for them to target a guy like William Jackson. That'd be more ideal. I do like Farley and Surtain for them. Maybe Farley a little more for that specific defense. And those are great options as well. I just think the A-plus option is spend on a guy like William Jackson. And then with that first-round pick, you have the ability to go, best player available. And maybe it's quarterback in the future. Maybe that's that right tackle, too, because there's not too many options available for that right tackle in free agency. So it could be that. A guy like Christian Darrisaw would be pretty appealing to me. So I think that would be the best-case scenario there for the Broncos, in my opinion, but I feel pretty strongly about that. Lions, definitely a receiver. They don't have Kenny Golladay anymore. They're not going to have Marvin Jones anymore. I like one of the rookies for them because they're kind of in that rebuild process, but mainly because I think these guys are fit. I think DeVonta Smith's a fantastic fit. Can play him in a slot outside, can scheme things open for him. Perfect for the Goff offense. And it's cheaper as well. So DeVonta Smith, Jalen Waddle, and then Josh Reynolds, maybe an option C, maybe something they target. Familiar with the Jared Goff. He's a free agent as well, so something to look out for there. But yeah, they may build through the draft there with those types of guys. Another receiver needed team, the Packers. Will Fuller, they tried to trade for him. What have they been missing? They've been missing that shifty plus speedy guy. Marquez Valdes-Scantling's a speedy guy, but he's kind of one lane, one line speed. And he's a sneaky good receiver at times when he catches the ball. But Will Fuller would be so good for them. We'll see if they can. He might go a little cheaper than we once anticipated because the injuries have popped up and the suspension. So, would really like that fit. I view Corey Davis as a Packers type guy. I view him as that, tough receiver. Again, can play inside and out. And getting better, I think he would really benefit from playing with the Packers. I think his production would soar. Like last year, it was kind of his one production year. I think that'll be a consistent thing. And Nelson Aguilar is kind of that, I don't want to say baby version because he's not too far off, but yeah, you get my point of Will Fuller, in that range. So I think that'd be a really good fit. Maybe they won't be able to spend a Fuller or Corey Davis money, so they can spend that Nelson Aguilar money. And I think that'd be a big pickup, even if it's that. So I really like those fits with the Packers at receiver. But another team, a contending team, really good team, I think, no matter what. But you start to think of the biggest need. There's just a couple options. Receiver. You look at actually offensive line because they're going to lose Corey Linsley, maybe Lane Taylor, need some guards. Maybe they need a better guy at right tackle, perhaps. If you'd rather play Turner at guard in the inside, I know Elton Jenkins can move around a bit. That's fantastic. And you look at defense, the interior defensive line, the linebacker unit, another corner next to Alexander. For a really good team, they actually got some needs, but they need a receiver. Enough's enough here. There was too much on Devontae Adams in the Buccaneers game. They doubled him in the red zone a lot and resulted in, making the other guys beat you, and those guys really aren't going to beat you. Sometimes they will, but that was a big reason I thought they lost out of multiple reasons. But so they need a receiver. Texans, it's now a receiver because they didn't franchise tag Will Fuller. Something tells me, even though they didn't franchise tag him, that they could still bring him back. Something tells me that. I think they didn't want to put the tag on him because I view they don't value him as at $15.89 million, whatever the tag was. I don't think they value him. That's pretty clear at this point. I think they want to sign him long-term cheaper, and if they would have put the tag on him and then tried to do that, he probably would have declined and just held on to that 15 point whatever million as a franchise tag, and then maybe even left the year after. So that could be why. I still think they can get him back. He's so important that Deshaun Watson offense, which they still want that to be the offense, with Deshaun Watson. Curtis Samuel kind of be a replacement. Aguilar, some similar style receivers. And Fuller's definitely option A. Samuel and Aguilar are pretty close to each other around at option B. Those are some good fits there. I was going to have edge rush at this because I don't know if they have anybody. I think with Charles Omenihu who is actually going to play defensive end in this scheme. We'll see. I don't know if Merciless really fits, so they could use an important fit pass rusher in Lovie Smith's scheme. So that was an option as well. more offensive linemen, cornerbacks. Yeah, I mean, interior defense linemen to help stop the run. They have some needs there. Colts, another good team that heading in the right direction, but you start to realize the giant needs they have. Tackle. It's only one tackle though. It's left tackle, so this is pretty specific. They need another number one receiver, that's for sure. To execute more. Big playmaker there. Looking at defense, they need. I almost said edge rusher because they need edge rush pretty bad. DeForest Buckner, he carried a lot. Houston played pretty well, but DeForest Buckner, that's coming from the inside. Houston played well. Like I said, he's a free agent. You might need 2 edge rushers. I'm not really trusting these young guys. They're decent rotation guys. So I almost went with that. They could use a corner as well. So you start to see, they got some important needs, but it's got to be tackle. For a guy like Carson Wentz, it's got to be left tackle. Trent Williams is option A, but do you really want to spend that much more money on another offensive lineman? They have the money, and the offensive line would be the best in football with him. I love Christian Darrisaw for them. That's such a fantastic fit. They would have to trade up a little bit. I do think it's a possibility, but risking going to the draft, because if Darrisaw is gone, Sewell and Slater are long gone. If you can't trade up, or if Darrisaw doesn't drop to you, there is a giant gap for in terms of Colts fits after Darrisaw, where it's not going to be good. So they may have to just solve it in free agency. Eric Fisher just got cut this morning, actually, and I think that's a really good fit. Pretty close. Eric Fisher, Riley Reeve. Fisher's definitely better, but Riley Reeve's a pretty good fit. He got cut by the Vikings. That's an option as well for the Colts. So luckily, there's more options available to fill that left tackle if they don't get a guy like Trent Williams. I'm getting notifications like crazy on my phone, so I don't really want to miss anything. I think there's a lot of Texans talk. Yeah, there's a lot to read there. I don't think it's any breaking news yet. The Jaguars, interior defense line. You could talk about. I could have put quarterback here, but that'd be the lame route, for obvious reasons. They could use a guard. They could use interior right here. They could use corner. They could use multiple things here. Safety's a big need. We went D-line because I think they're going to run a 3-4 when their pass rushers are going to be Josh Allen and Clavon Chason on the outside. So your 3 front defensive linemen, you can get better at every single spot. You really can get better. So there's a couple of different style defensive linemen on with these options, but it's because they can use pretty much any one. Poona Ford is a restricted free agent, so we'll see if he's even available, but that'd be a big-time pickup. Dalvin Tomlinson would play nose tackle, and Christian Barmore kind of that top option in the draft, but these options ahead of him in free agency are definitely better. They need to go to work on that position there this offseason in general. Chiefs, now offensive tackle because they released both their guys there, Schwartz and Fisher, so they need offensive tackle. Maybe a guy like Lucas Nang steps up, the draft pick from TCU last year. Like Orlando Brown, maybe you wish you get a little more of an athletic option. That's kind of the downside of Orlando Brown. But it's just an upgrade over any other option. He's also cheaper as well over the other free agents. And in the draft pick, sitting back there at pick 31, not the best options for them. They could trade up, but so at the end of the day, it's just the best option there. So Orlando Brown could be a top option. Darrell Williams, and you have to trade for Orlando Brown, of course. Darrell Williams could play right tackle for them from the Buffalo Bills. And maybe a guy like Jalen Mayfield drops to them. I do like him, but it's possible he doesn't drop to them. So it's a tough situation they kind of have right now. So we'll see what happens with them. The Chargers, you can go any offense. You can go tackle. You can go interior, you can go center, the whole offensive line. What would interior, which is guard and center, obviously. They need one more tackle. It's going to be very important, but I think that, they need all 3 pretty much once they release Trey Turner for the interior. They need all 3 interior spots. Joe Thuney, I think they're going to go hard for him in free agency, and that's kind of the top option, so it'll be a big pickup. Couple Packers guys, Lane Taylor is a guard, could be a solid pickup, and their center Corey Linsley there, which maybe they dip into multiple of these guys. That'd be fantastic. But any of these would be good pickups for them. They desperately need it. The Rams inside linebacker play was just atrocious last year, so they could upgrade there. Jayon Brown, I think, would fit very well. Jared Davis, he's been a little underwhelming, a little inconsistent. One time you see him play or make a play where it's like, okay, that was that first-round pick, Jared Davis. And then it's just bad play. I think what the Lions were going through, I think the Lions kind of put him in that position, so I think he's got actually this can be a sneaky signing, I think. I think he's got a lot more potential, and with the Rams defense, it'd be fantastic. And Jamin Davis could be a second-round draft pick option from Kentucky. He's getting a lot of buzz. He could be a fit there on the inside. The Raiders, Could go multiple things here. You can go interior defensive line. You can go edge rush. Could go corner. Could go safety. Could go offensive line now. Could go receiver. You start to see the ridiculous amount of needs for the Raiders. But interior defensive line, it's been so poor, both stopping the run and getting interior pressure. Poona Ford's kind of that top option. Maybe a guy like Shelby Harris. I think he could go back to the Broncos. So, yeah, Poona Ford / Shelby Harris. Dalvin Tomlinson to help stop the run there. And Lee McNeil, who I like a lot, is the best nose tackle in the draft class. Could be a second-round pick. So some options there. But, again, could argue multiple different – that's really not good. You could argue multiple different position groups for the biggest need for the Raiders right now. But they're clearing space. Maybe people want to play in Las Vegas so that they could easily turn it around. It's got some work to do. Dolphins, got to be receiver. Jamar Chase, Kenny Golladay, Juju Smith-Schuster, so some really good options there. They have space available, cap space that is, so they're going to go big with this position here for sure. So that's why there's big options here. I got Jamar Chase over Kenny Golladay because Jamar Chase is an elite prospect. He's a lot cheaper, and he's younger, of course. So I think Chase is actually a better option than Golladay, even though I love me some Golladay. But if they're all kind of option A. All three of these are option A. Golladay, fantastic receiver. Juju Smith-Schuster, still young, fantastic receiver. So they're all option A. I just think Chase has the ability to be these guys right away and even better pretty quickly, a lot cheaper as well. So that's why he's at option A, of course. So we'll see what the Dolphins do at receiver. Vikings could go tackle, could go guard. They did release Reef. They kind of need a left tackle anyways. They need one tackle. They could really replace anybody in the interior. Maybe the role with Bradbury at the center position. So I went with guard here, because it just needs to get the interior pressure on Kirk Cousins it's the worst in football. Kirk Cousins was pressured at over 30% rate. It's just the worst in football. So they need to make it better. They are clearing space. They're doing a good job clearing space, so they may be in that Joe Thuney sweepstakes. Kevin Zeitler from the Giants got released. I think that could be a fit. He might be a little cheaper than Thuney. And if they go that draft route, I view Wyatt Davis as a fit. They're sitting in a tough spot, though, where it would have to be a trade back from where they're at in the first round or trade up from the third into the second to get Wyatt Davis. He's kind of that late first, early second, not where they sit. I do view him. It's a perfect fit, though. But they're going to have to target guys in free agency. They're going to have to target guys in free agency there. And they'll have to get a left tackle as well. I love Christian Darrisaw for them in the draft if he falls to them, which is possible. Patriots quarterback, love Mac Jones for them. I know it's kind of a win-now team, but I think Mac Jones could be a win-now quarterback in a system like that, with that staff, with those players. Do need receivers to help out, though. I like Marcus Mariota for them. They would have to trade for him, but it's an option there. And then Ryan Fitzpatrick it's a pretty good fit. They could definitely win now with him. So it's kind of tough because these aren't the most appealing options, and they want to be able to compete right now. So it is tough for the Patriots. So it's definitely everyone's waiting to see, whether you're a Patriot fan or not, what the plan is at quarterback. It's going to be interesting. But people will view these as kind of bad options. I think some people will view these as underwhelming options, but I really don't think so. I think they're realistic. I think they can win with these guys. To the Saints, tough to pick one out for the Saints. Could go quarterback. It feels like they're going to try to get Winston back. That could happen. So quarterback's a need. They do have Taysom Hill there. He's not the best passer. Doesn't have the best pocket awareness, but they do have somebody at least that honestly is probably better than some guys might start. I don't think Hill's a good quarterback, but you get my point. But receivers a need. You look at defense. They may lose Rankins and they're trying to trade Malcolm Brown. So they could use interior. They can lose Trey Henderson. They could use edge. DeMario Davis is kind of by himself to the linebacker position. Maybe Bond could step up, so they could use linebacker. They cut Janoris Jenkins, could use corner. So they got a ton of needs now, unlike most years. I think receiver, in my opinion. They cut Emmanuel Sanders. They needed receivers anyways. Michael Thomas was not right last year. He was dealing with what I think multiple injuries. He was not himself, and I'm confident he'll get back to being a stud. But it kind of sits back in your mind, like, can you say you're 100% certain that everything's going to be all right there? Pretty close, but it's still something that sits in your back of your mind. And on top of that, again, you needed receivers as it was. If you're going to go that Jameis Winston route, it's going to have to be explosive offense, downfield offense. You're going to need the weapons for him. So I love Kadarius Toney for them in the end of the first round. Get that speed, like Emmanuel Sanders, Terrace Marshall, LSU kid. Could have, another Michael Thomas type guy that they may like. And then Brashard Perriman, who had really his only good year of his career, which was a damn good year, was with Jameis Winston in 2019 with the Buccaneers. I think it's a good fit. I think it's a pretty good Sanders replacement. Maybe different builds, but frames, but same style of player. So that's actually a guy I think they'll definitely target. So some good options here to make that receiver unit better, because even though they got some holes on defense, their defense will probably be solid. So the name of the game is just make this an explosive offense here. That's my opinion there. Giants receiver, you can go offensive line. Daniel Jones has been pressured almost as much as he's been the probably most pressured quarterback, top 3 most pressured quarterback, top 5 at least. So you need offensive line, you need receivers, you need pass rush. You can use an inside linebacker next to Blake Martinez. So they got quite a few needs there. I'll go receiver, but people may be wondering, where's GOLLADAY? Giants fans want GOLLADAY, and GOLLADAY's definitely, it's a good signing if you get him. I just think these cheaper and maybe youth doesn't really matter that much. GOLLADAY could be part of that. But I think there's just better routes. GOLLADAY, if you spend for GOLLADAY, well, then you spend for him. It's a good pickup. He's a good receiver. But if you spend for GOLLADAY, right now they can't. They're going to have to clear more space. So when you get to that space, you spend for GOLLADAY, then you're pretty much done. There's really no more pickups, small pickups, where you can have all these other pickups, multiple of them, and still get that receiver in the draft. So that made more sense to me. I think you should want, if you're a Giants fan, even though I love GOLLADAY, I'm sure you do too, and it's good if you get GOLLADAY. I'm not saying it's bad, but I think the top options are having more than just one here. You get the DeVonta Smith, or the Jalen Waddle, and you're able to spend in free agency on the other positions. I think Curtis Samuel's a good fit as well. So those are the top options for the Giants. Jets, quarterback, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Sam Darnold. Honestly, if it's me, I don't put Sam Darnold. I'd rather have Trey Lance, Mac Jones. So I don't put Sam Darnold in the mix, but it's a possibility. Some people still believe they may ride it out with Sam Darnold. I don't think they do, but they may. So that's kind of the bottom option there for me. Zach Wilson's got to be the pick. I still like Justin Fields. His upside, the only flaw at him is he kind of holds on to the ball too long, which is a little bit of a concern, but I would like him in that system. But Zach Wilson, definitely the top option. The Eagles, multiple big-time needs. You go receiver, you go linebacker. You got some receivers that can play. You definitely need to get better, but linebacker, the whole unit's bad. You need an entire unit. I actually like Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah for them a little better. I think having a guy that can cover, it's going to be that Colts defensive scheme. They need linebackers that can cover. Micah Parsons got upside there. He's a rangy guy that get in the backfield, get more of a guy that gets pass rush as a linebacker, off the ball linebacker. They're fine with their pass rush. I think they'll benefit more from getting a guy like Owusu-Koramoah. And so the draft picks are likely because they don't have the cap space. They're clearing cap space, but even if they do clear enough, they won't be able to spend big. So if they are going to spend in free agency, it's going to be a little cheaper option. But Eric Wilson had a breakout year last year for the Vikings. Pretty good in coverage there. So that could be a big pickup there for them. Steelers, or running back. You could go across the offensive line. It's got to be better. But, I sat there and thought about it. I watched a lot of football last year. And the interior wasn't good, and it made the running back's job harder. But if you really remember, I think the running backs were worse than the actual run blocking. There was a lot of hesitation in runs, and you think about it, offensive linemen in run blocking, they don't need to block ahead of the running back for that long, and the running backs were not getting to the hole fast enough. So they just definitely need a better running back. And I like Javonte Williams a lot. On top of that, you'd probably be like a second-round pick for them, so you don't have to. If they were to get Etienne or Harris, they may have to use a first-round pick. So you can use that first-round pick in the offensive lineman. You get Javonte or whatever it is, and you get Javonte Williams in the second round. It just seems like you're getting more there. So I think that was the top option, but it's likely to be the draft for them. But I do think that's their biggest need. Offensive lineman's right, whether it's tackle or guard or center, it's right there with them. But I thought the running back's just not hitting the hole because the holes, they were actually there. They're not there for long because the interior offensive line wasn't good. But the running backs just weren't doing their job consistently. That's just the bottom line. So I thought that was their biggest need. Seahawks definitely on the interior. They could use an upgrade at right tackle, but they can use a guard and a center. So Joe Thuney is that big-time guard that everyone will be after. That's the top option. But center's been pretty disastrous for them. It's going to be pretty important to get a good one. So you look at the top one, Corey Linsley from the Packers. So that's why he's a top option as well. Another Packer, maybe option B from Thuney in terms of guard, Lane Taylor. So Seahawks got to grab one of these guys for Russell Wilson here and that running game. 49ers cornerback, they pretty much got no cornerbacks. They got, Emmanuel Mosley will be back. But all these guys are free agents, all of them. So they need corners. Going to get a top option like William Jackson would be fantastic. Can they do that if they re-sign Trent Williams, though? That's kind of the tough part. The shot Patrick Surtain drops to them, that would be fantastic. If he dropped to them, it's 50-50 there. But has a shot, so that'd be good. I love the fit of Asante Samuel in their scheme. I think he'd be a big-time playmaker in a scheme that could be a second-round pick, maybe a little bit of a move-up, perhaps, or around that range. They might be able to sit put and get him. So those are some good fits at their biggest need. I mean, you could have went quarterback if they missed out on Trent Williams, left tackle. They could use another guard. Yeah, those are the routes you can go for them as well. So maybe a little more needs than we once thought. Still feels like a really good roster, though. It's got to stay healthy. Buccaneers definitely edge rush. They may have to. They could double dip on this list because they want to get Shaq Barrett back. It's before it felt like they're getting him back. Now it's definitely up in the air. It's getting a little scary. So they definitely want him back. Was a huge piece to them, winning a Super Bowl, being as good as they were. So they'd like to get him back, but they also got to look out for the future because JPP's got one more year. So one of these draft picks, love Jalen Phillips for them. Love Jason away from an upside guy, has the ability to sit and learn from Barrett and JPP and be a freaky athlete and reach that upside. So those are some good options. Again, they can sign Barrett back and then draft one of those guys on top of it. So it could be two. Titans got to be edge rush as well. Bud Dupree, would love Bud Dupree in that defense. He's the top option in my opinion. For them, they're just not getting enough pressure. So that's why edge rush is a big one. But as we sit, looks like receiver could be one. Looks like cornerback could be one. Defensive line as well. Bud Dupree. Option B is kind of a tie. Think about Romeo Okwara as well. Carl Lawson, Romeo Okwara, one of those guys. Option B, a lot of upside in this defense for those guys. And the draft option, I think all these are kind of A options. I love Jalen Phillips for them. I like him a lot. So they're all pretty evenly option A. I do think Bud Dupree is the best option, but they're all really good options. So they're clearing space. So they have the opportunity of doing this. Last one, Washington football team quarterback. They also need a left tackle. They also need receivers. Pretty receivers right there with them with quarterback. Could use a corner as well. Trey Lance, they would have to trade up, but I just love the fit in that scheme. Scott Turner offense, Rivera type of guy, appealed to him. So it's just the ultimate fit. They would have to trade up again. I would like Winston for Washington because they may have the best defense when it's all said and done this upcoming year. We'll see, but it's definitely gonna be top tier. Winston's going to get yards and points, things that Washington didn't get enough of last year. So they need a guy that's Winston's going to get the production. He will turn the ball over, but he's going to push the ball and get the production. They have the defense to overcome the turnover. It's easier for defenses to overcome turnovers than constantly the offense going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, or even 6 and out, So that's just a better fit. Marcus Mariota, I think it's a possibility they trade for him. I think they'll be good with him, so it's a decent option as well. So those are the 3 options there. But that wraps up this video. Really enjoyed this one. Hopefully you guys did too, because it was originally started as just what's the biggest need, but that's just so bland that we went into fits as well. So we'll see if these guys are targeted by these teams. I definitely think they will be, but not everyone can get them. These are the top options. Teams will bid for them. That's the beauty of free agency. I can't wait for the surprises that free agency holds. We'll have you covered through all of it. Anything you can think of, we'll have you. Twitter and right here on the channel. So join us, smash the like button, subscribe, check out those links in the comments. That's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.